for your sorrow, now you're paying for it. Think twice. Being evil has a price. Are you alive?
Tiptoe by the window, that is where I'll be. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me.
Okay, is evil eternal? In other words, is it co-equal to God himself? I got to thinking about this the other day, so I decided to do a video about it. And a lot of religions throughout the ages have postulated that it is. You know, yin and yang, Hinduism. In essence, that reality is an eternal struggle between the two. So I did a little research and I concluded that they aren't, and I'm going to show you why. So now, let's agree on our definitions. Let's stipulate. What is eternal? So, consider that something has to be eternal. It may be God or it may not, but for there to be anything, something has to be eternal. We call that truth. If there is nothing that is eternal, then there was a time when nothing existed. Actually, there couldn't even be a time when nothing existed because time would not also exist. If there is a total absence of any and everything, not even time to allow for a change, there will only ever be nothing. So if anything exists, nothing is impossible. Obviously, things do exist, lots of things, so since something can't come from nothing, there could never have been a time of pure nothingness, a state of pure nothingness. If there was never nothing, there must have always been something. That something would be eternal. Truth.
Who do you think you are today? The more we learn about this covenant of God.
Okay, now that we've established that there is an eternal, let's go to the topic of the video. Is evil eternal? So let's talk about, I guess, really what is evil, and there'll be some more about that. Evil and good are mutually exclusive. The expression of evil, of course, is hatred. But hate is reactionary since its very existence is predicated on the existence of the other. Good can exist without evil since it's generative, it creates, it builds. It doesn't need to be reacting against anything. But evil can't exist without good. Ipso facto, it is not eternal. Evil can only exist to destroy. But of course, that presupposes that there's something to destroy in the first place.
Good is characterized by order, calmness, tranquility, peace, whatever you want to call it, lack of conflict. And evil is characterized by their opposites: violence, hate, disorder, division. So if you are all in on the things that produce the latter basket of outcomes, what you're really advocating for is evil. That's just true. I'm not calling for a religious war, far from it. I'm merely calling for an acknowledgement.
Okay, now let's look at what is evil. You know, we talked about what's eternal. Well, what's evil? Let's kind of define it a little bit. Now, most people get scrambled around when they're talking about evil, and they associate it with entropy. Entropy is the process of degeneration and decay in the material world. You know, you take a car that's brand new, and you put it in the garage and you leave it there for 100 years, you're going to come back and it's all messed up and decayed, even though no one's ever touched it. That's entropy. But equating evil with entropy oversimplifies. Evil, as commonly understood, involves intent or agency, like cruelty and oppression, while entropy is neutral. It's a neutral, amoral process. A serial killer's actions aren't disorder in the same way a decaying star is. They involve choice, malice, or suffering. Entropy doesn't care. Evil arguably does. Studies in moral psychology show humans perceive evil through intentional harm, not just chaos. A hurricane might destroy, but we don't call it evil, you know?
Hi there, this is Sharon Duffing at the Minnesota State Capitol. It is Friday, April 4th, 2025, and I'm here to double check on what everybody's been talking about on social media, is this plaque in honor of our Governor, Tim Walz, and it is from people that are supportive of his efforts, and there it is. Right here in the East Hall, lower level. And it reads, the Democratic Coalition of Satan Worshippers thanks Governor Tim Walz for not standing in the way of spreading Satanism in the state capitol building. Satan has a special place for you. And that's what it says.
Okay, so now let's continue on a little bit. Let's talk about how evil impacts us in our daily lives. Okay, if evil requires malevolence, then it must be a person, which implies that it was created. But how can the eternal, that's truth, God, create that which is mutually exclusive? Therefore, it must be a finite person, which somehow chose to be the opposite. After all, if it's finite, it can't be eternal. It can't be everywhere. So, anyway, how can evil be everywhere, which we all know it is? We all know that evil's everywhere. If it's a finite creature, there must be more than one of them. Yet, those persons can't be human. Since, according to Plato, or Socrates, with Plato writing it, no man will even ever, given a clear choice, ever knowingly choose evil. Never. And I can hear you out there saying, oh yeah, they would. Okay, if I took a blue pill and a red pill, with the red pill being evil, and put them out in front of you, a very clear choice, and said, choose evil, you wouldn't, would you? No, you wouldn't. Yet again, we can stipulate that we all have good and evil within our minds, which, I mean, no one can deny that, which implies that we all have one of these persons within our bodies along with us. How could it be different? God could create a human being who is good because that's a part of himself. He can create that. He couldn't create evil. And yet, there they are. Anyway, as the myth says, they ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now, a lot of times you see in videos and reading, they call it the tree of knowledge, and then they leave out the part about good and evil. People fucked up somewhere in the past, and they allowed themselves to be polluted, and I guess you could say maybe even controlled by evil entities. And that is original sin. Of course, that creates a little contradiction there. I just said that you couldn't choose to be evil as a human being. However, I also said that somehow or another finite creatures chose to be evil. Ipso facto, they couldn't have been human. And I guess in Christian eschatology, you could just call them angels. And the ones who chose to be the opposite, the ones who chose evil, you know, they're the fallen angels, the demons, and Satan, their leader. Think of it like an absolutely logical creature with no divine spark. He can only choose to submit or rebel. Absolutely. Just like logic is a discipline of absolutes. So anyway, I hope you learned something. I like doing these videos because I learn. That's probably the main reason I do it. And then, you know, there are some people who watch them. I don't get very many views on YouTube or Rumble, but I do get, you know, hundreds and hundreds on BitChute, and so that kind of keeps me going.
Think twice, 'cause being evil has a price.